All right. What is? Hello, everybody. David Cohen is just telling us how elegant we both look. That's always nice.
We love to hear it.
My name is Lars Nilsson. I program for Austin Film Society, and this is my friend and your friend too, I hope, Amanda Reyes, made for TV mayhem, etc. You are a scholar of film and television, and we've had many discussions over the years about television, and we ended up sort of doing this series because we obviously both love one of the great television producers of all time, a Texan by the name of Erin Spelling, who truly changed television over the course of the decades that he worked. And we're looking at kind of the end of kind of his greatest peak as we move into the 80s here, and he'll have another peak as we go on into the 90s. But this is sort of the end of a peak that he had that really ran between but after the Mod Squad into Starsky and Hutch, into some of his other shows he was doing, certainly Love Boat and Fantasy Island and Charlie's Angels, definitely.
Yeah.
And this is sort of the downside of that peak.
Well, at this point, though, he had, I think I read an article while I was researching this, that he had like a third of the programming belonged to Erin Spelling.
Yeah.
It was like Matt Houston, Dynasty, which was huge, Hart To Hart, Love Boat, Fantasy Island, and I'm probably missing one or two shows in there. And people were writing tons
Dynasty,
of articles about him, and like it was called the Erin Broadcasting Channel for a long time, ABC, because he saved it. And he was really, I think, at the height of his career as a producer at this point.
Yeah, and it's interesting because we're going to talk a little bit about
TJ Hooker. Sorry, that's the
TJ Hooker also, a television show he created at a lunch, just as a lark. But we're going to talk a little bit about soap opera. The spirit of soap opera will pervade this gathering of the Erin Spelling Club tonight, because we're going to watch a Hart To Hart episode, which is about making of soap operas, and then we're going to watch an episode of Hotel, which really was it was an omnibus series that was incredibly soapy and crammed into every episode two soap opera plots, like two plots that would have been a 3-week arc on a soap opera into 1 hour long 10 o'clock show. So those are the two things we're going to see. And one thing we're not going to show is an episode of Dynasty. Neither of us is really an expert on Dynasty. Dynasty kind of left a bad taste in your mouth one time, I think, one of the plot points, and I've just never really gotten into the cast and the people of Dynasty. But that was a very successful nighttime soap that Erin Spelling made after the success of Dallas, which he did not make Dallas, which must have just riled him because he was from Dallas.
Oh, that's right.
And Dallas became this enormous hit series. So he kind of did Dallas one better with his show Dynasty, which I'm sure you can all find on some streaming service or something, but which we will not be covering in this.
It's hard, and I know we're going to be doing Melrose Place, and it will be difficult to find a particular episode, because when you have a soap, you have to find an episode that people can understand,
right?
And they're not just being dropped into something and it's really foreign. So that was difficult for us, because I know I'm more of a Dallas person than I am a Dynasty person, and so it would have been hard for me to pick an episode that wasn't the pilot, which is very good.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like we're still getting that spirit of his love of melodrama here tonight.
Yeah. Definitely. Yeah, I mean, very much melodrama in Hotel. But the first show we're going to cover is Hart To Hart. And this is a show with we're just talking about how weird the tone is on the show, because it really is, it's a fantasy, really. It's a murder mystery show in which the two protagonists, Jonathan and Jennifer Hart, a couple that have been married over 10 years, played by Robert R.J. Wagner. We'll probably call him R.J. because we like to sound like we know him. And Stefanie Powers, they play the couple. And as Erin Spelling said, I think it's like they're still on their honeymoon, 10, 12 years into their relationship. So that is, I think, the key of what makes the show work. I think Len Goldberg, the co-executive producer of the show, said if the chemistry works between them, the scripts don't really matter,
Yeah, I feel like it's probably one of the best examples outside of Murder, She Wrote of a cozy mystery, where you really just sit back and let them do the driving, and it is kind of inconsequential when somebody dies, which is hilarious because people are dying every episode and they seem to like be friends, relatives, or close relations, or even just new close friends who die. And then for a second, usually Jennifer's like, oh gosh, that's really sad. And then she's like, oh, are you going to this gala? Or they have jokes about how they're going to have sex later or something.
Right.
And it's the perfect, just sit back and let the actors do the driving. Let them, you don't need to figure anything out. Just watch it and enjoy it. It's perfect that way.
Yeah, and the formula is there, and it is the tone is part of the formula, because they could have gone with a gritty show. In fact, one thing that did happen later on in the 80s is a lot of people got gritty with their shows, even shows that started off kind of featherweight. It's a featherweight show. It just always is a featherweight show. Any kind of melodrama that happens is not terribly stressful. You're never really worried that anything bad's going to happen to the Harts or their butler / live-in servant / kind of honorary uncle Max, played by Lionel Stander, the guy who was in Hollywood movies in the 30s and got blacklisted in the 50s and ended up making a career for himself in Europe, and worked in Robert Wagner's show It Takes a Thief, and ended up getting cast in this role. Nothing's bad's going to happen to him or Freeway, their adorable dog.
Yes,
which is a thing that everybody remembers about this show.
Yeah, Freeway had a couple of his own episodes. There were some Freeway-centric episodes that are quite adorable.
Yeah, I think he was like a fan favorite. It's almost like towards the end of the era when this would happen, but I bet Freeway got a lot of fan letters.
He probably did. He probably did. He was really a very cute dog. Yeah, everything about the show. It's interesting. I'm thinking, what is my favorite Erin Spelling show? And I don't know. It's probably Love Boat, but I think this show to me is the most fully realized of the Spelling shows. I think because it has all that glamour that he talked about. It's really well done. It's got all that great action, and it has these two leads that have chemistry for days.
Yeah.
And there's something about it. It's just it feels really sophisticated, even though I agree with you, it is featherweight.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it's because the Sidney Sheldon script that they got from the 60s, he created the show, but I don't think he had that much to do with it.
No.
They dug it up and Tom Mankiewicz redid it for them. There's something about just the setup that makes it feel so realized to me, so complete, as compared to some of the other shows. I feel like even though there's no overreaching story arc per se, you feel like you're kind of following something. I don't know if that makes sense, but
yeah, no, it's definitely true. And I think you mentioned Tom Mankiewicz. I think Sidney Sheldon gets the credit for creating the show. But kind of what happened was that Spelling and Goldberg went to a meeting with the network executives. The network executives were like, could you guys work up something with like a married couple, And Len Goldberg remembered that when he'd worked for Screen Gems, that Sidney Sheldon, before he became a famous novelist, he became sort of a famous sort of trashy novelist,
He's great.
Yeah. But before he wrote Other Side of the Mirror or whatever, Other Side of Midnight, is that the one?
Yeah, that's a really good one.
Yeah. Before he wrote all that stuff, he had written this spec script about a couple who were international super spies. So they bought it from him just to have his name on it, and because there was their character names and everything, and then Tom Mankiewicz completely redid it. I think Tom Mankiewicz is from the family of the other famous Joseph and Herman Mankiewicz.
Oh, that's interesting. I didn't know much about him, but he did a great job because the pilot's excellent.
Yeah,
it's really good.
And then he set it up for the tone of the series, and Mankiewicz was the showrunner, I think, for the whole 5.5 year run. So Mankiewicz is probably the guy we can say is the more hands-on shaper of this show than anybody else, but it couldn't have happened without Spelling and Goldberg. Cool. So I think maybe we start our episode of Hart to Hart. It's awfully good. We're going to see a lot of inside baseball stuff about soap operas.
Yay,
and it's treated a little bit like pro wrestling, but and we're going to hear the organ music for this, which soap operas really didn't actually use at this point.
No, but it's such a fun little like nod to soaps. This does a lot of stuff with soap operas. And we should mention David Levinson, who was the producer of the show, wrote Fantasies, which is a TV movie about soap opera actress being murdered that I showed at the History of Television. And so there's some really interesting, he really knows soap operas.
So all the stuff you're going to see about soap operas here, don't think that it's the way soap operas are actually made, but it's fine for purposes of this episode. And we'll roll Hart to Hart with that wonderful, amazing opening sequence.
kind of guy. This is Mrs. H. She's gorgeous. She's one lady who knows how to take care of herself. By the way, my name is Max. I take care of both of them, which ain't easy. Because when they met, it was murder.
Diane, wait up. I'll walk with you.
Oh, sure, Dr. Scott.
What's this? A smile on Diane Somerville's face? I don't believe it. What did you do? Win the Irish sweepstakes?
Better. Little Timmy can walk again, and Mom and Dad are back together, and Dr. Thomas has asked me to marry him.
Wonderful. Sounds like all's right with the world.
Finally, yeah. I must be the happiest girl at Doctor's Hospital.
I'm so glad. Good night.
Good night.
Sorry, I didn't realize what time it was.
It's okay, the commercial's on. What's up?
I was hoping lunch.
Come on and join us. Do you know what's happened?
What?
Diane just got murdered.
Oh, too bad. Just when life held so much hope.
You got it, Mrs. H. Did you ever try to write a soap opera?
Me? Oh, no. Well, a couple of us were hooked on Days of Our Lives when I was in college, but I think I'm off the hook.
Shh. It's back on.
You had something to do with Arthur's death, didn't you?
That's an interesting assumption.
It wasn't an assumption, it was a question. Did you kill him?
Of course not. But how could you even think such a thing?
You had a perfect motive. He knew about your time in prison. He could have been blackmailing you.
Well, it's possible. But even if it were true, it doesn't mean I did it. I'm not a monster.
Killers aren't all monsters. You should know that. You've killed before.
That was an accident.
That may have to
Who
be
did he
proven in
murder?
court.
You see, Dr. Porter came to town with amnesia. He became a doctor at the hospital. His gardener, Arthur,
During our marriage,
finds out that a guy who fits Porter's description served time in prison for murder. This was before he married Monica.
He and Monica are married?
Not anymore. She got disinherited.
It's not a crime.
No more money, no more marriage.
Hello, darling. What's going on?
Monica just told Dr. Porter she thinks he's a murderer.
That's not what I meant. It's not bad enough that I lose Max every day from 2:30 to 3. Now you're gone.
Just until 3, darling.
Well, if you're innocent, then who?
What about Tom? The police did find a vial of poison in his lab coat.
Come on, Doc. You don't think he's stupid enough to have left it there by accident?
Sounds like a setup to me.
Sounds like a setup to me. Oh, Dr. Scott, come in.
Thank you, Monica. Thank you.
Well, Dr. Scott.
Dr. Porter.
I had no idea you still made house calls.
Well, I was...
Would you be an angel and get that? I'm really not in the mood for small talk.
Sure. Hello. What? No, you just hold on.
What's the matter?
They just found Diane Somerville. She was murdered outside the hospital.
Next on Doctor's Hospital.
Anybody for late lunch?
You know something, Max? When I used to watch soap operas, people got married, they got divorced, they even became terminally ill. But nobody got murdered.
Well, you gotta grab that audience, Mrs. H.
Well, Max, if Doctor's Hospital is keeping you away from the track, then you've got to be way ahead of the game financially.
I got better things to do with my dough than blow it at the track.
What's that?
A little surprise for you, Mrs. H, for that charity luncheon you're going to tomorrow.
At Mrs. Wentworth Hayes?
Right. I bought all these raffle tickets in your name.
Max, you shouldn't have done that. That must have cost a month's salary.
Mrs. H, if you win the prizes, no, I'll keep it a surprise. No sense of being disappointed if you lose.
Oh, come on, give me a hint.
Well, it's something that millions of women from coast to coast would give their eye teeth for.
I'm already taken.
Oh, you're witty, Mr. H.
Thank you, Max.
Well, here's the lunch.
Mrs. Wentworth Hayes.
What's she doing here? She never goes to the parties she gives.
Max, would you entertain her while we go get a drink?
Sure thing, Mrs. H. Mrs. Wentworth Hayes, nice to see you.
Max, so good to see you. What happened to the Harts?
They're at the punch bowl. They'll be right back.
Just as well. Now that I've got you, how do I get you?
Thank you. I'm very flattered. But I'll never work for anybody but the Harts.
With me, it wouldn't be work. We'd call it play for pay.
There's Dr. Scott.
Dr. Scott?
I mean, Ray Martin. He plays Dr. Scott on Doctor's Hospital.
Oh, excuse me.
Yes?
I'm Jonathan Hart.
Hello, Mr. Hart.
This is my wife, Jennifer.
Oh, Mr. Hart. Yes, of course. I'm Ray Martin.
Yes, we know. We watch your program.
Really, I'm flattered that you watched the show. That's very nice.
I take it that you're a friend of Mrs. Wentworth Hayes.
No, as a matter of fact, we just met. You see, my show donated a prize to the winner of the raffle, and I got drafted to pull the ticket.
Jennifer, Jonathan, there you are. Well, has he told you yet?
Told us what?
What?
Ray,
What?
is Dr. Porter the murderer? I have a bet with my hairdresser.
Mrs. Hayes, they do not show us the future storylines. You're just going to have to continue to watch the show.
Hi, I'm Lee Blair, KBHX Publicity.
How do you do? Jonathan Hart, my wife, Jennifer.
How are you? Hi. We're just about ready, Mrs. Hayes.
Oh, yes. Excuse me, please. Dr. Scott, I will get it out of you one way or another.
I believe you.
And the public just can't get enough of Doctor's Hospital. I'm sorry to break up this little party, but Ray has to cut a ribbon at a supermarket opening at 3 o'clock.
Where does it say that?
Just before you do your radio phone-in show at 4.
Lee, I'm sorry. I've done Shakespeare, I've been on Broadway, and I'm really getting a little tired of being humiliated by all of these sideshow appearances.
We'll talk about it later. Okay?
Why do you give me all the dreary assignments? Why don't you send Damien to the supermarket? He'd love it.
Look, I'll do what I can. Come on, Mr. Charm, it's raffle time.
Mr. Charm, we'll go pick the winning ticket. Nice to meet you both.
Actors.
Attention, everyone! Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to introduce Mr. Ray Martin, who plays Dr. Scott on Doctor's Hospital. He will now draw the number of some lucky lady who will win a walk-on part on Doctor's Hospital.
You'll honor the House of Hart, Mrs. H.
If you have your stubs ready, the winning number is 684. 684.
No. Mrs. Hart's got it, the winning number, 684.
Jonathan, please help me.
Here.
That's not what I meant.
Congratulations. Can we have a really nice big round of applause for the newest member of the cast of Doctor's Hospital, Mrs. Jonathan Hart?
I want candy. Can't get something for a marmalade.
Let's get a shot. Big smile, Mrs. Hart.
And now a big hand for Mr. Ray Martin.
Thank you very much. Thank you. See you tomorrow at the taping.
Tomorrow?
At 10 o'clock, the director will walk you through the scene. We'll shoot the episode at 11 o'clock. You're playing the part of a beautiful, wealthy Beverly Hills hostess. One more shot. Real pretty smile. There's a rewrite due out at 6 o'clock. Can you meet me at Antonio's? It's across the street from the studio. Wonderful. I'll see you then.
A beautiful hostess, typecasting.
I'm speechless.
Not for long. You gotta learn your lines. Wait till I tell my friends that I won your coast-to-coast speaking part.
I can always count on you, Max.
That's right.
I can't account for the popularity of soap chapter, but it crosses all social and economic lines. There's a group of Harvard professors that have it in their contracts that they can't be assigned classes between 2:30 and 3 because they want to watch Doctor's Hospital.
Isn't that amazing?
Oh, it's time for the Johnny Carson show. I told you I've got to get there. Damian Drummond is taping tonight. Damian's our show's biggest star. We can't let him down. Now, your part, page 49, scene 26. Learn it. Network is picking up. Check. Good night. Thanks very much.
Excuse me, I couldn't help it over here. You are doing a scene from Doctor's Hospital. Now you've got to tell me if Dr. Porter is going to remarry Monica.
Go ahead, darling. Tell her.
Oh, yes. Oh, I knew it. I knew you would know. Oh, come on, tell me.
I don't know.
Nice people from Pasadena. Harvard professors and Max.
Quite an assortment. Well, darling, if I'm going to work tomorrow, I must get some sleep. My public demands it.
It's Lee.
All right. Now, as we were watching that, we're having a whole conversation, and you mentioned, because Peter Brown's character is going to a ribbon cutting at like a supermarket or
Right.
something. You mentioned that was not atypical for soap opera actors.
No, actually in the 70s and 80s, in the prime of the soap opera world, they had a lot of obligations, a lot of mall autograph signings, tours, events such as ribbon cutting. The talk show he talks about, Johnny Carson, of course they did that. And it was interesting because they also sometimes had in their contracts to do charity events, and they worked hard, really outside of the series itself, harder than a lot of other actors. They were obligated to a lot of these things, and sometimes they were even obligated to not do other projects. Like their contracts were really different than a lot of other actors, and I think it was difficult for some actors who wanted to branch out. Other actors, I think, like the stability of it. It just depended. But there's a lot of work, and to this day, there's still events and stuff, just not to the degree that we saw it. But yeah, they worked really hard, and they had to interact with fans way more than I think most other actors and actresses.
Yeah, they go on a cruise or whatever with
They used to have soap
fans
opera
and-
cruises.
yeah. It's fascinating to just sort of think about like what that's like, because it's just sort of like where you see the woman in the pizza restaurant, people who are so tied up in it. It's almost like they're living in an alternate reality, and the soap opera actors are kind of this bridge between the two realities.
Yeah, I worked at a party supply store, and a lady from Port Charles or one of the soaps came in, and a guy I worked with loved the show, but he hadn't been able to see it because it was the 90s and we didn't have that kind of TiVo stuff. And he's like, I haven't been able to see the show for 2 weeks. And she said, well, let me catch you up. And she actually gave him the whole story arc.
Wow.
And he was so excited to see a soap opera actress in the store.
Yeah, that's amazing.
It was really fun.
As we watch this episode, we can see, I think you see all the elements that sort of make this show work. We've got this marriage. They haven't gotten lovey-dovey yet, but that's happens in every episode, and I think it's kind of the key to the episode. I think for people who were, and I think women were really driving the show, is to see a married couple that was affectionate, and I think it was really important for like a husband who like compliments his wife and like cares about his wife and goes out of his way to do nice things for his wife, because I think probably it's a thing that many married couples like that whole aspect of it. Once they've been married for 10 or 12 years or whatever, it feels like it kind of, maybe it's not present as much as they want it to be. And so that's sort of part of the fantasy aspect of the show too.
I think you're right. I never thought about the female demographic of that, but the demographic was always really important. And they're definitely building on a romantic vibe here on the series that works really well for women.
Yeah, and it's funny because when Len Goldberg and Spelling went to ABC, when they kind of were pitching the show, ABC was kind of a little bit soft pedaling it. But of course, they're not going to say no to a Aaron Spelling show. But they didn't really see an older couple,
That's right.
Older 40s and 50s here.
Not even, I don't even know if Stefanie Powers is in her 40s yet. I think she's in her 30s.
I think in this episode she's 41. I looked it up.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then he's like 52 or whatever. But like, they were older, and the network always wanted to skew younger. But of course, the viewing audience, was not always necessarily younger. So,
well, also Aaron Spelling was like, it would be ridiculous to have a 21-year-old gazillionaire like that who's supposed to have built a business from the ground up, self-made man. He needs time to do that, and you need somebody. And they had actually, I don't know if they ever approached him, but Aaron Spelling had said in his mind, at least, Cary Grant was who he had pictured. And Cary Grant was in his 70s at this point. Yeah. So they needed to find a Cary Grant-esque person, but somebody not in their 70s. And so the first person he thought of was Robert Wagner.
Yeah. And they did think about Natalie Wood too, but she was just too busy with her film career to do it. That would have been an interesting show, but I think they landed on just the right mix here.
I agree.
It's Stefanie Powers is wonderful. Another great thing, just looking at this, just watching this recently, voices are actually really important for TV actors. I mean, it's important for all actors, but for TV actors, particularly in a show that you're going to watch every week is kind of a ritual, or even once it goes to syndication, every day is a ritual. Their voices go a long way towards creating that sort of sense of comfort that you feel. And between Wagner's voice and Powers' voice and Max's voice, it's just a symphony of these great familiar voices that you want to hang out with.
And also wonderful dialogue.
Yeah.
Really well written show.
Yeah. Again, we'll thank Mankiewicz for that as the creative consultant, and I'm sure he had a hand in all the scripts.
Yeah.
All right, let's go ahead and resume this with the next part of this Hart to Hart episode.
Hart, you just finished dinner with him?
Yes, when we came out, Lieutenant, we didn't see anybody around.
Yeah. Well, his keys and wallet are still there. I doubt the robbery was the motive.
Sergeant, I want to search this entire area. Garbage cans, doorways, everywhere. I want to find a murder weapon. He was strangled, so look for rope, a wire, something like that, all right?
Need us anymore?
No. Just tell me how you knew Mr. Blair.
We were having a meeting with him. He's with KBHX Television. My wife is doing a part on Doctor's Hospital tomorrow.
Oh, Doctor's Hospital, huh? A few of us down at headquarters have a little bet going. Will Timmy turn out to be Monica's illegitimate kid? Got any ideas?
No.
Good night, Lieutenant.
Yeah.
Here they are, Freeway. Where have you been? We expected you home hours ago.
Freeway.
Been with the police.
The police?
Yeah, a PR guy that works on Doctor's Hospital was murdered.
Gee, that's awful. I'm sorry.
Yeah. His car was parked in a dark alley. That's where they found him.
Was it a mugging?
No.
Well, they didn't find anything.
I'll get you some coffee.
Oh, that's okay. I'd rather have a drink, wouldn't you, darling?
Absolutely.
Should I get it?
We'll get it, thanks.
Thanks.
Oh, by the way, Mrs. H, do you mind if I give you a list of questions?
Questions?
For the star of your show, Damien Drummond. I thought I'd mail him, but as long as you're on the show tomorrow, I thought I might give him to you.
Oh, sure, Max. I'll take it.
Thank you.
Oh,
Tired?
yeah, a little. I better look at that part before tomorrow.
Oh, you want me to be the critic?
Oh, you really are getting a kick out of me suffering, aren't you?
I get a kick out of everything you do.
Oh, thank you.
Forget about the part.
Forget about the part. Darling, if I don't read the part, I won't know what my motivation is.
I know what your motivation is.
You do?
Well, what do you think, Miss Hart?
That was wonderful. Thank you, Frank. What do you think, darling?
Oh, you look great.
Well, hello, you two. Jonathan, you look wonderful, Mrs. Hart. Welcome to Doctor's Hospital. Let the good doctor show you around and how we operate. I do a terrible Groucho. I'm sorry. I don't know if you're familiar with 3-camera operation, but we have 1, 2, and 3 cameras, and they're fed onto the floor through these monitors so that the director can set his shots. This is the area. Excuse us, we'll just thread our way through here. Pardon me for a minute. This is where you'll be shooting your Science Society bash a little bit later on. Richard's setting it up now. Just follow me through. I'll kind of give you a tour of the building. Real flowers. Not everything is plastic in Hollywood, you see. And right through this door, presto change up, hospital operating pieces. Oh, it's the magic of Hollywood.
Oh, no. Has he spoiled the magic for you?
No.
Mr. and Mrs. Hart, meet Damien Drummond.
Hello, how are you? Wonderful to have you with us.
Thank you very much. Oh, I have to ask you a terrific favor. Would you mind giving me an autograph?
My pleasure.
To Max.
Max. My public. Oh, Mr. Hart, would you mind if I'm the one to give Jennifer the grand tour?
Of course.
Oh.
Right this way.
Excuse me, darling. Excuse me.
Seems to be quite nice for the villain.
Oh, yes, he's the man you love to hate. Our nation has made him our show's superstar, the JR of daytime, you might say.
It's built just for you, you know. You're the hero.
Huh.
Don't they root for you?
No, Jonathan. Heroes are a dime a dozen, but villains, now that's something else again. No, if Damien doesn't like the script, it gets rewritten, and sometimes rewritten and rewritten until he does like it. I guess it's my New York training. I was brought up on the stage, and wind up here in Tinseltown with a joker like that who's been in the business a fast 20 minutes taking over. It just, well, I guess I really shouldn't complain. I mean, whatever keeps the fans tuning in keeps food on my table, too.
You seem to be handling it realistically.
You have to in this business, Jonathan. Oh, I'm sorry I sounded off like that. I guess we're all a little on edge because of what happened to Lee. The police told us you found him.
Yes, we did, but I'm afraid we couldn't offer much help.
Ah, that's a tragedy. That's a real tragedy. Ray. Oh, Richard. I'd like you to meet Jonathan Hart. This is Richard Bauer, our producer and director.
Mr. Hart, pleasure.
And over your left shoulder is Mrs. Hart, your winner.
Jennifer.
Oh,
Please.
Jennifer.
Jennifer, congratulations. Now, there's nothing to be nervous about. We're all one happy family here. You're going to be terrific.
Are you sure?
You bet. Now, come right on the set. We're ready for rehearsal.
Oh, boy.
You're going to be wonderful. I'll pick you up around 3. And, as they say, break the leg.
Thanks.
Come on.
Okay, people, let's do it. Blocking rehearsal for the actors.
All right, everybody, this is a rehearsal. Let's have it quiet, please. Anybody not involved with this scene, please step behind the camera.
Ray, you want to stay by the table?
Yeah, okay, right over here.
Jennifer and Damien, come here by the sofa. We'll bring you some champagne. And Monica, where's Monica?
Right here, right here.
Monica, sweetheart. We'll have you inside of Ray, telling your story. Very funny. At the end, you'll excuse yourself, come back here to meet Jennifer. Have you met Jennifer?
No.
Oh, Jennifer Hart, Monica Haynes.
I see. No.
And you'll finish the scene over here. Now the champagne will come through here. Come here, picked up on Dick. Sweep past. Number 2 camera will pick it up, and off you go. All right, we're ready to go? Let's do it. And atmosphere, people, keep it lively. Remember, this is a party. It's not a funeral.
All right, everybody, from the top, let's have it quiet, please. In 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, action.
Oh, dear. Oh. So the man says, "Mother, how could you have eaten that bird? It spoke 7 languages." And his mother says, "So why didn't he say something?"
That's good. That's
Excuse me a
good.
moment. My dear, where did you get that dress?
Cut it, cut it.
Something wrong?
Monica, sweetheart, let's try and cooperate. It's supposed to be, my dear, where did you get that dress? You like the dress.
So sorry.
So let's take it from the end of your joke.
She has a problem with other attractive women on the set. I'll speak.
All right, everybody, from Monica's line. In 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, action.
And the mother says, "So why didn't he say something?" Excuse me. My dear, where did you get that dress?
Oh, I'm glad you like it. My seamstress made it for me.
Oh, well, you must give me the name of the shop.
And cut. Beautiful, beautiful. All right, 10-minute break, everyone, and then we'll put one on tape.
All right, that's a 10-minute break.
Jennifer, that was wonderful. You're lovely. Let me get you. You know, you're very believable.
Oh, I'll believe that when I see it.
Tune in tomorrow at 2:30 and see for yourself.
Jennifer, Bill Stegmeyer, the writer.
How do you do?
How do you do? I enjoyed the show.
Well, thanks. I used to.
Want to sit in the makeup chair?
Oh.
Bill has been a little under siege lately. He came up with a major divorce for Ken and Sylvia, and the network then said they wanted them to have a baby.
Using a surrogate mother. I can't wait to see what they'll come up with next.
But Ken and
Oh.
There won't be 5 more episodes if we don't get cracking.
He's a slave driver, isn't he?
All right, everybody, we're back. Let's do it. Let's...
All right, everybody, our 5's over. We're back.
Hello. You celebrating?
Negotiating.
Negotiating. You must have read that one line pretty well.
She was terrific, Mr. Hart. She's sensational.
I know that.
Actually, we're trying to convince your wife to work with us on the next few scripts.
A writer, actor? Alan Alda better watch out.
Oh, come on.
She made us rethink the whole Ken-Sylvia reconciliation. And to top it off, gave us a beautiful way to solve it.
I told them I've only written a couple of books and some magazine articles, but they're determined.
We certainly are. She should work with us. What better experience could you want? To write an article about A Week on a Soap Opera by Jennifer Hart.
Max would be devoted forever.
It might be fun.
We could use a fresh viewpoint.
You know, you're going to need an agent.
Oh, I don't think so.
I could negotiate it for you.
Yes, I suppose you could.
Well, go easy, Mr. Hart. This is daytime. We don't have the big bucks.
I want you to know that this is not.
Welcome to the family.
Thank you.
It's the only way, Dick. Jennifer's right. If Ken and Sylvia are going to come to this enormous understanding, we've got to end the affair she's been having, and the only way I can see doing that is to write Ray Martin out of the show.
Haven't you got other alternatives? Ray's been a running character for 5 years.
The network says his fan mail is dropping, and we need another victim for our villain.
All right. Why don't you and Jennifer put it on paper first? I'll look at it and decide if Ray stays or goes.
Sure, leave me to work through the night.
At least you're working. Next week, you and I have a place to go. Ray may have a problem.
All right. Now remember, okay, there's all this light banter. Somebody's been murdered. All right. It's just like,
what's his name again? I can't remember.
yeah. It's like, was that like last night? And now they're like, oh, you're a writer. Look out, Alan Alda. Yeah. Now everybody's in a very sort of loose mood after this murder. We should note, okay, so there's like there's some probably improvised or rewritten banter going on there. Which I think happened a lot on this show, that they would the actors would rewrite the stuff, but there's the negotiation. It's like the money has to go to her wildlife fund, and that was a real thing. And Stefanie Powers is still doing the William Holden Wildlife Fund in Kenya, so lives in Kenya part of the year. She was the longtime inamorata of William Holden. I don't think they were ever married, but William Holden died in 1980, I guess. And then 2-3 weeks later, of course, Natalie Wood, who was R.J. Wagner's wife, died. So they both lost their longtime soulmates within the course of a month of doing this show.
Yeah,
they took some time off of the show.
Think about.
Yeah, it's really amazing. I think it really made them closer together, of course. But yeah, it's like it's so horrific to think that the two cast members both had losses like that so quickly.
Yeah, and also the show, it took a little time off, but I don't know that you could watch the show and see where that happened. Like it just went right back into production, and it was like before their professionalism really came through on the series, and I don't know how they were able to do that. But I think you're right. I think they got closer through the loss.
And it often happens when people talk about Robert Wagner. There's like, oh, there's this cloud of suspicion in the death of Natalie Wood. This is no soap there for me. I do not believe that for a second. It's not just because I like Robert Wagner. It's like I don't know. Seeing that recent documentary that Laurent Bozereau made about Natalie Wood. If you watch that and you still think Robert Wagner had anything to do with her death, then I think you're insane. So I don't think I think Robert Wagner is safely out of the woods on having suspicion of foul play in that.
I really appreciate him also still doing things. It comes up every 20 years or something.
Yeah.
Somebody tries to make a big deal out of it, and he still works and he still talks openly about how much he loved her and when she died. And I really appreciate that he has stood in the face of adversity the way he has and kept going.
Yeah.
And he's in his 90s now and still strong as ever.
Yeah. No, I really love both of these people so much.
Me too.
I really do. I like them all a lot. But yeah, so all that was going on behind the scenes of the show. You would never know it from the tone of the show at all, that anything adverse had ever happened. It's just this, they're out there putting on the show, putting on these characters for the benefit of everybody who watches and enjoys the show and likes these people. This is very much a matter of liking these people. If you don't like these people, first of all, what's wrong with you? But you're probably not going to like the show. And that was, as everybody realized, and certainly Erin Spelling realized, that's the key. You like these people, you like the show.
Absolutely. Yeah, the chemistry, like I said, is just off the charts with all of them. Max as well, Lionel Stander's so good in this.
Yeah. It's the sort of lightheartedness is sort of balanced with the seriousness as it goes to its commercial. And of course, that's the act break on the television show, is when it goes to commercial. So there's this foreshadowing where we're sort of realizing that Peter Brown, playing the soap actor, is about to get written off the show, has a legit concern here.
I love Peter Brown. They should never get rid of him.
Yeah. Peter Brown was he had been in a great Western show called was that Laramie or Laredo?
Laredo.
It was Laredo with William Smith.
Fantastic. Yeah. That's kind of where I fell in love with them.
Yeah. And then he did a lot of TV guest appearances.
And also Foxy Brown.
Yeah, right. He's in Foxy Brown.
He's good.
That's right.
Yeah, he's very good in that.
Yeah, great all around sort of leading man actor.
Yes.
All right, let's get back into the show.
Look at this. Max certainly outdid himself. I thought we were supposed to have salad and cold poached salmon.
Yes. You seem to be dressed wrong for the room.
Max, at your service. Dinner is served. Royal crown of lamb, vegetables jardiniere, and potatoes rissoles.
Potatoes rousselet.
Rissoles, sauteed in oil.
Max, what is the occasion?
No occasion, Mrs. H. Just the smile on your face is reward enough. What makes you happy, Mrs. H, makes me happy. I'm a man who derives pleasure from the happiness of others.
Max, I've known you too long. Get to the point.
The point is, Mrs. H, that you're writing the next few episodes, and I got the inside track.
On what?
Do you realize how much money is wagered coast to coast on who does what to whom on soap operas?
Max, you're not suggesting that
I'm not suggesting, I'm pleading. Just tell me who murdered Diane on Doctor's Hospital. I'll put a few hundred on it, and I'll clean up.
I can't do that, Max. It's unethical.
That ain't unethical. It's an inside tip.
I'm not tipping.
Are you sure?
Positive.
Here's your roast. Ready for your 4 o'clock script conference?
Oh, yes, I'm just going to make it.
Mrs. H, I'm kind of sorry I nudged you about the inside dope in your show.
Oh, that's all right, Max.
I hope it didn't interfere with your creative flow.
It didn't. The flow flowed.
Yeah, who is it?
Hi, this is Ray Martin. Is Mrs. Hart there?
I'm sorry, Mr. Martin. She just left to deliver her new script for the show.
Oh, I see. Do you suppose it would be all right if I used your telephone?
For you, of course, Mr. Martin. Come on up.
Thanks a lot.
Freeway, this guy coming up is a big TV star, so make a good impression.
Hi, I'm Ray Martin.
I'm Max.
Hi, Max. I remember we met at the Hayes party. Yeah. Wow, this is quite a place. So, Max, I understand Mrs. Hart's script is just gonna save our show for us.
I wish I could tell you.
Oh, come on, Max. You mean you didn't even get one little hint as to what she had in mind?
I couldn't believe it. You'd think she's working for the CIA. I guess loose lips sink scripts.
Max, didn't you even get a peek?
Nah, I figure if it's that important to Mrs. H, I'll do it her way. I ain't even going to read the carbon copies. You want to use the phone? Come on in.
Oh, thanks.
You can use the phone in the kitchen.
Max, this is kind of a personal call, you know what I mean? I was wondering if it's all right with you if there's a phone out here somewhere?
Be my guest. There's a phone on the desk. Come on, Freeway wants to be alone.
Thanks, Max. You're a real pal. Hi, Jackie. This is Ray. No, I'm not at the station right now. No, I probably won't get back there until later this afternoon. Yeah, I'll keep you posted. Right. No, don't call me, Jack. I'll get back to you.
Hey, wait a minute, Freeway. He's making a personal call. If Lassie came to visit you, would I be rude? Mr. Martin. Freeway, where'd he go?
I'd have to say that Elizabeth Taylor is our biggest fan. She wrote the show and says she tries never to miss it.
Isn't that amazing? Damien, how did you become Dr. Porter?
Well, there was no Dr. Porter when I started. I mean, I had a 3-line walk-on when I started, a party guest.
Really?
Yeah. And then the great American public wrote in and they said, who is that guy? So they created the role of Dr. Porter just for me. You are standing in the house that Damien Drummond built.
Rags to riches.
That's right. I know there are some actors on the show who are jealous of my meteoric rise, but that's show business.
Speaking of show business, it's 4 o'clock. I'm supposed to meet Bill in his office. I'll see you later.
All right, at the rehearsal tomorrow.
Oh, look at you.
Hi, Richard.
This is half-hour television. Looks to me like you're trying to put together a 6-part movie.
Have you seen Bill? I was supposed to meet him back here.
Bill keeps a schedule that only a writer can understand.
Oh?
Fiction.
Funny, funny.
Look, it's getting late. We're knocking off early. Want to join us for a drink across the street?
Oh, no thanks. I'll just wait here for Bill.
Dedication, commitment. I like it. See you tomorrow.
See you tomorrow. Now.
All alone?
Oh, hi, Ray.
Hi.
If you want to catch up with everybody, they're across the street having a drink.
Oh, they are? Oh, no thanks. Actually, I was just trying to catch up with you.
One thing you were just mentioning as we were watching this is that they're using some real soap actors in this.
Yeah, Leanne Hunley, I think, was on Days of Our Lives, and I
She's
don't
the
know,
murder victim at the beginning.
Yeah. And John McCook, who we just saw there, who's the new popular guy on the soap, he is currently on Bold and the Beautiful, and I'm not sure if he was on Bold and the Beautiful then. I'm not sure Bold and the Beautiful was actually even a thing.
I think it was a little later. I think Bold and the Beautiful was 85 or something.
It came a little later.
Yeah.
But he certainly looks like a soap actor anyway.
Yeah.
And I like that they're messing with that. David Levinson did that in Fantasies, where he hired soap actors to play soap actors. And so there's kind of a metaverse when you're talking about the Wildlife Foundation and the soap actors playing soap actors. And he's having a lot of fun, or the screenwriter is having a lot of fun with this particular episode.
Yeah, you can tell. And then Peter Brown obviously is getting very agitated about all of this. It's funny when you watch the scene with Max. There's kind of a unit. There's obviously Jonathan and Jennifer are a unit, but also Max and Freeway are kind of a unit on the show too, and they have their little scenes and their little back and forth where they talk to each other. And Freeway's little bark will be dubbed in, and actually kind of. In terms of canine behavior, kind of inappropriate parts, but because like dogs don't actually bark like that, but you know that's
it's adorable.
It's adorable. Yes, we hear Freeway bark, and Freeway always just has this way of sort of doping out if like there's bad goings on. If somebody's not right, Freeway knows it before anybody else.
He's onto it. He's the best detective in the house.
Yeah, he really is.
Yeah.
So all of that's happening in the show. So. Anything else that you feel like we should talk about before we go into the last part of this?
Oh gosh, I don't know.
We talked about Dick Powell's house.
Oh yeah, so the exterior of the house actually came from Dick Powell and June Allison's house, and it's been in a bunch of things. You've probably seen it in, I don't know. I was mentioning it was in an episode of Night Gallery called The House.
Mm-hmm.
But
Dick Powell, as if you remember back to a couple of episodes ago, Dick Powell was Aaron Spelling's mentor as a television producer.
Yeah, and so that's really fun. And I think some of the interiors might also be the house because it matches in the Night Gallery episode. There's a banister in there that I think looks similar, but I'm doing that off memory. And so that's kind of a neat connection too. I think we just talked about the ridiculous glamour of the show and how funny. Oh, one thing I remember is that basically Robert Wagner kind of almost cast the show himself because when they brought him on and they were thinking about Natalie Wood and they realized that wasn't going to work out, he suggested Stefanie Powers because they'd worked on It Takes a Thief together. And he's like, I really liked her. I think she'll be great. And then he remembered Lionel Stander, who had also done an episode, and he said, we should bring him on too as Max. And so basically he put the show together. And we were talking about Robert Wagner actually had done producing prior to this. He did Madam Sin with Betty Davis. And that's the one thing I'm sure he's done other things. That's the one I remember, which is a wacky, great film. But, and so it's kind of neat to see, like, what's the word I want to use? It's very collaborative. This show is particularly collaborative.
Going back and watching some of the interviews on the excellent Emmy television interviews website, it's like everybody talks about how much they loved R.J. Wagner. Like all the guest stars, all the directors, they were like, oh, that was one of my favorite shows to work on because of R.J. He was such a great guy. So he seems to have been very well liked by everybody.
Betty Davis loved him. When they were doing Madam Sin, they were shooting it, a part of it in London, and she got a lot of press because she came to London. And Robert Wagner at the time, this would have been like late 60s, early 70s, pretty young guy, and they were like, well, how do you feel working with this kind of newbie producer? And she just couldn't stop gushing about how smart he was, how great he was to work with, how open he was. Also, as an actor as a producer working with actors, I think that helps to a degree to understand their temperament and how they work. But she did like an entire interview where she just gushed about how much she enjoyed working with him.
And if Betty Davis didn't like you, she would tell it in interviews. There's just some stuff about Karen Black and others in interviews that she says that is, she really is a real flamethrower. We're going to talk a little bit more about Betty Davis a little bit later when we talk about Hotel. But I think this is probably the last part of the episode, I think. And then we'll run that, and then we'll talk about our next episode, which is a show called Hotel, which is
the shocking conclusion of Hart to Hart.
Yeah, shocking.
So you saw nobody run away from the car, huh?
I just found his body slumped over in the front seat, Lieutenant.
That's an interesting idea. Somehow I doubt that he strangled himself, dropped dead, and then stashed the weapon.
I'm only the building manager. I'm not Dick Tracy.
That's all I found in the trunk, Lieutenant.
What's this?
Looks like a TV script.
Doctor's hospital.
Oh, yeah? My wife watches that. She's been real curious trying to find out who killed somebody.
Yeah. Things in Doctor's Hospital making me real curious these days, too. Go ahead, finish up here, will you?
Thanks for your help, Mr. Donovan. Appreciate it.
Sure.
Yeah, this is DeVerne. I want you to patch me into station KBHX.
So you've been writing ever since, eh?
Yes, ever since.
How's it coming?
Oh, well, this is very different, but it's challenging.
I'd like to see it.
Oh, I don't think they want all the actors to see it because it's still rough.
Oh. Well, I just thought maybe I could get a jump on the direction the storyline was going in, that's all.
Oh, well, I'm not so sure that the storyline is going in this direction. It's just that Bill wanted me to work on it.
I don't really think you're going to have to worry about whether Bill likes it or not.
Oh, well, he's my boss. He's the head writer.
He was.
I don't think he
Sit down, Mrs. Hart. Sit. You do have an inventive style, Mrs. Hart. However, I think that you've made one slight mistake. You see, I don't die in the last act. You do.
Send him in.
Lieutenant DeVerne.
Hello, Lieutenant. Thanks very much, Dennis.
You're welcome, Mr. Hart.
Glad I caught you in, Mr. Hart.
Yeah, can I get you a drink?
Oh, no, thanks. I'm on duty.
What's on your mind?
What I'd really like to do is talk to Mrs. Hart. See, about that soap opera walk-on she did.
Mrs. Hart. Well, Mrs. Hart is due here about 6 o'clock because we are going out and having dinner.
Yes, I know. I called your house. That's what Max said. Tell me, Mr. Hart, did she ever talk to you about the backstage life at the show?
The backstage life of the show.
Yeah, you know, this sort of thing like, well, did the star fight with the makeup man, or did the producer want to kill the writer? Gossip, that sort of stuff, you know.
That sounds like soap opera material, not like real life.
Oh, yeah, well, real life has taken a beating these days at Doctor's Hospital. We got people dying like flies over there. First you have the PR man who's killed, and now we have a second murder. Writer, guy by the name of Bill Stegmeyer.
Bill Stegmeyer.
So you see, I'd really like to talk to Mrs. Hart.
She's at the studio right now.
But she already did a walk-on.
She did, but they asked her to come back and write some material with Bill Stegmeyer.
No, wait. The only person working with Bill Stegmeyer now is the coroner. You're sure she's there?
Yeah, I'm positive she's there.
I just called the show. There was no answer.
And they'd never dream of killing off Damien. Oh, no, he gets awards. If he doesn't like the scripts, they change it. And Damien Damien makes $1 million a year. And Damien's on the cover of every fan magazine. Damien, is he really a devil? Damien tells the world it's so difficult to be Damien. Damien came here a year ago with a 5-page scene. What do? They build him up. They make him a superstar. I'm better than he is. I play Dr. Scott, nice Dr. Scott. And I truly am the devil, but no one knows that. No one even suspects. That is award-winning acting.
But Ray, they're not even sure they're going to do this story. They just asked me to work on it.
And you know, it's a tragedy. No one will ever know that my entire life has been one superb performance. Dr. Scott's already gotten away with 2 murders, you know. And now, no one will ever know what's in your script.
Hey, what's your hurry? Slow down.
Studio 10.
That set's been closed for...
I'll find out myself. Open up.
All right. Not gonna do any good to hide. There's nowhere to go. I wrote this scene, Jennifer, and you're gonna die just like me, Blair, for degrading me. I'm like Bill Stegmeyer because he wrote me out. There's nowhere to hide. This will be the kindest cut of all. Jennifer!
On the set!
No, Ray.
Come any closer and I'll kill her right now.
You don't have to do this.
Now I'll get the attention. I'm the star of this show. I'll have the spotlight.
Keep him talking. Maybe harder than it looks. There's no place that you can go.
You're so wrong. Up. I can go up. This is the beginning of a brilliant new career.
Dr. Scott, put down the scalpel.
Oh, yes. Wait a minute. You're not the director. This is a closed set. Only cast and crew are allowed in here.
And this is your greatest performance since Broadway. Ladies and gentlemen, the award for the best actor in a continuing series goes to Ray Martin.
Did you hear that?
The award goes to Ray Martin.
Oh.
Don't you hear the applause, Ray?
Did he say Ray Martin? That's me. He called me. Oh, they called me. Oh, thank you. Thank you so much. I am so grateful for this award. Oh, and there are so many people to thank. First, a wonderful cast and crew, and all of the little people who make it possible. But most important of all, I would like to thank all of you fans out there whose loyalty means more to me than this or any award. I love you.
Oh, thank you. Oh, thank you.
Fade to black.
I can't believe it. You make love to another woman on our anniversary and you expect me to look the other way?
Enough about her already. Let's talk about us.
There never will be an us.
You're not saying it's over.
It never began. I love you, and although Julian may never walk again, I owe him everything.
But darling, without you, I'll subsist. Subsist?
Yes. Fade away, die of heartbreak.
Well, then why don't you just say that?
Because that's not the way Dr. Porter talks.
That's not the way anyone talks. Have I ever told you you're the most beautiful woman I've ever met?
That's not in the script.
And even if you write things like subsist, I'll always love you.
You're changing my words.
Who needs the words?
Only a couple people died, and they're so happy.
They're so happy. There's going to be some trauma that they're going to have to work through the years.
But it's okay.
There'll be more trauma next week too. And the grasp of just Jonathan's grasp of abnormal, like psychology is just, it always comes in handy. I don't know why he's so good at that, but he just knew exactly that he could like pretend to present him with an award and he would just snap and he would go with it. It's amazing how that works. Yeah, and then everything's back to normal. It's very common for them to end up in the tub or in bed together at the end, and that's a big part of like what makes the show work. It is, as one of the commenters said, it is about marriage. That show,
absolutely, yeah. It's a wonderful show.
Another wonderful show is one we're going to move on to now, which is Hotel, and this is again, this is an anthology show, which this goes back through. We've seen other examples of this with Fantasy Island and The Love Boat. And then all of these shows often have like a sort of anthology quality to them. But this is, it has a kind of hard melodrama soapiness, along with being very sort of button pushing and taboo flouting, because it was a 10 o'clock show. And when you were a 10 o'clock show, you can get away with a lot more kind of controversial material. And this show did a lot of controversial material.
Yeah, including this episode.
Yeah.
And also the pilot, which we talked about, which had Morgan Fairchild in and Betty Davis, of course, who was originally supposed to be in a handful of episodes as the woman who owns the hotel, the St. Gregory. And in that episode, Morgan Fairchild gets gang raped at a prom. She's been hired to sleep with one of the kids there. And then he leaves and his buddies show up and they have their way with her. And they deal with it pretty frankly. And there's some really human things happening in that episode because she's a prostitute. She doesn't want to press charges. And James Brolin comes and tries to encourage her. And they actually have a whole talk about, is she garbage? Is she human? What is she worth? And he's like, it doesn't matter what you are. Nobody deserves to have that happen to them. Like, they're very clear about where her culpability is, which is none. And I like that the show deals with homosexuality in episodes. In this episode, of course, we have all kinds of stuff happening. I don't know if we're going to unfold it here, but and I like that aspect of the show, and I also do like the melodrama quite a bit. Yeah,
it's very melodramatic. The recurring characters are, yes, we've got actually, this is a weird little sort of Hollywood thing. Is like Betty Davis starts off playing the sort of matriarch of the hotel. You've got to replace Betty Davis with somebody. Who do you replace her with? Ann Baxter.
Yes.
Which is like, if you know all about Eve, it's all about Ann Baxter trying to replace Betty Davis. So it's kind of, I'm sure that was not lost on Aaron Spelling and company. But yeah, she ends up sort of replacing her in that role and playing the matriarch of the hotel. James Brolin plays the sort of day-to-day manager. Connie Selica plays his kind of second in charge, sort of like assistant or whatever. And then you've got a whole cast of people like Nathan Cook is a security person. Sherry Belafonte Harper comes in at some point. I don't know if she's at the beginning of the show, but
she's in this. I think she's in the credits, but I don't know that we see her more than just in a passing scene, maybe in this one.
And then a number of other people whose name, like Heidi Bohe.
It's Heidi Bohe and Michael Spound were a real life married couple.
Yeah.
And Heidi Bohe would go on to host this really great show on the Game Show Network. They used to have, like, instead of the ABC Good Morning America, they had a show where they would show these great classic game shows, and she hosted with a number of different people, including Alfonso Ribeiro.
Okay.
And that's kind of where I know her from. And she's still married to Michael Spound.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
And then every week there's guest stars. And Hart to Hart didn't necessarily have name guest stars, but Hotel did. They did as best they could on the budget of having name guest stars. And so you'll see a number of name guest stars in this episode. You've got Robert Reed, Lee Taylor Young in the one story, and then you've got Dak Rambo, and again Michelle Phillips, who plays a mermaid in another episode from the Mamas and the Papas. Mama Michelle Phillips, they're the two principals in the other in the B story.
I believe she was like on Knots Landing too or something.
Yeah.
Also we have a Dallas connection because Dak Rambo had been on Dallas for a few years, and Lee Taylor Young I know is on it for a certain number of episodes. I believe her and JR have a thing going on, so there's some soap opera-y kind of stuff happening in the casting as well. And Robert Reed actually did a daytime soap. I think it was Another World, or it was one of the CBS soaps, I think. Search for Tomorrow. I can't remember, but I actually have clips from his performance from that because I have everything Robert Reed's done basically.
And he's one of the best actors who's ever done television. You will probably recognize him as Mike Brady from the Brady Bunch, as the dad in the Brady Bunch, but this is a guy who had incredible range. He was, unfortunately, he was well known as that. I'm not gonna say he was typecast because he really made an effort to not play genial daddish roles.
Even when he was doing the Brady Bunch, he was on Mannix.
Mm-hmm.
And so he was trying really hard to or he knew the Brady Bunch was going to create a certain kind of pigeonhole for him.
Mm-hmm.
And so he worked really hard against that. And where he found his niche was a lot of episodic TV, but I would say the TV movie is really where he was able to show people what a great actor he was. But to this day, I don't feel like people really appreciate the talent. And I think that this is a very fine performance and a good introduction to his other side.
Sure. I think so too. Well, let's watch this hotel episode from season 1.
Where's Amy?
Oh, she's hiding.
Gotcha. Honey, don't run. I don't know where she gets all that energy.
Where can I find the executive offices?
Right up those stairs to the mezzanine. You can't miss it.
Thank you.
May I help you?
Yes, thanks, Mr. and Mrs. Jameson. And Amy.
This new designer is fabulous. Wait till you see the line.
Isn't this neat?
Yeah, Mom, that's your room over there, honey. Is there a TV?
2 of them. One plays odd channels, the other even. Really, I swear. Where you going?
She's addicted.
She's got a dozen cartoon-a-day habit. I can see it in her eyes.
Thanks very much.
Thank you. Enjoy your stay.
Yeah. Carol,
Yes, darling.
do you remember to bring the restaurant guide?
Yes, I think it's in here somewhere.
No, good.
Voila.
Does that mean we're having French?
Oh, I think that's a wonderful idea.
You do.
Mm-hmm. What about that charming little restaurant in Berkeley?
Chez Panisse?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe the hotel could get us reservations.
Ooh, and maybe the hotel can get us a babysitter.
I want to go too. Please.
Not tonight, sweet pea.
Oh, it's not fair.
Life can be awfully tough on an 8-year-old, you know that?
9 in 2 months.
They can get us a sitter.
Oh, yeah, great. 2 months. 2 months. 3 days. 4 hours. And 17 seconds, and I gotcha.
That would be just fine. And 7 o'clock is perfect. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Nice and hot.
Oh, great. Thanks very much. Pete. I don't believe it. Hey, how you doing? Oh, guy says matter-of-factly as he steps off the moon. Wait a minute, it hasn't been quite that long, has it? Oh, 5 years isn't last week. You look great. Oh, thanks. Hey, you're doing all right for yourself here, aren't you? Yeah, it keeps me off the streets. How about you? Well, things have been better. Come on, let me buy you a drink. Great, that's the best offer I've had all year. That's good to see you. You too.
Here you are, Mr. McDermott. Anything else?
No, thanks, Harry.
Thank you.
Are you talking to anybody about this?
Well, that's why I'm here in San Francisco. I can't go it alone anymore.
I wish I could help you.
Well, we all go through changes. I guess maybe it's my turn. Oh, come on, Peter. It's not the end of the world. You know, I know what I'm doing.
Sure you do. So, what do you think of our hotel?
Well, there's only one St. Gregory. Looks like you really found your niche, didn't you?
I think so. I thought you had too.
Yeah.
You look ravishing, Mrs. Jameson.
Why, thank you, Mr. Jameson. You look rather ravishing yourself.
I love you.
You know, darling, it was very dear of you to have Amy with us. It's not your usual honeymoon, huh?
Well, she's my girl now, too. I'm very happy with the package.
I'm gonna go too. Please, please. I'll change real fast.
Tomorrow night, I promise.
Right on time.
Mrs. Jameson?
Yes.
Hi, Hank Miller.
Hello.
And you must be the Amy everybody's talking about.
You're from the hotel?
Yes, sir. Now, don't worry. I'm very experienced. I'm sure Amy and I'll get along just fine.
You play games?
Well, sure. Did you ever hear of a babysitter who didn't? I even bring my own. Now, watch this. Turn it on up here. Press that little button. Here you've got your flippers. Yeah. Come on.
Let me tell you that Mrs. Cabot is one tough lady.
Deal fall through?
Turned us down flat. And we're talking in excess of $50 million.
Hold that elevator, please. Thanks. Excuse me.
Did you plan on retaining the structure?
No, tear it down. St. Gregory's past his prime anyway.
What's your idea?
50-story skyscraper right on this spot. Penthouse, condo, shopping mall, all the amenities. Remind me to show you the plans.
Still, it's a great old hotel.
When it comes to an investment, you can't get sentimental.
What about soul searching? You're looking at a guy who's cornered the market.
I suppose you know what you're doing.
No, I didn't say that. Thanks, Peter. Thanks for dinner.
Good to see you, Ted. Give me a buzz tomorrow.
I sure will. Bye-bye.
6, please.
6. Lead me. Night.
Good night.
Time for bed, kiddo.
Oh, do I really have to?
Get me in trouble with your folks. Come on, scooch down. Good night.
Good night. You're not gonna leave, are you?
I'll be right outside.
Oh, no.
Hello? Hey, in there, you got a leak.
Just a sec. I can't get this thing to. Oh, I'm coming.
I think you need a plumber.
Yeah, I called. I thought you were him.
Hey, look, maybe I can help.
Oh, please. I hope I didn't get your stuff wet.
That's my feet. They're making, I'm not imagining it, 60-story skyscraper. 60-story skyscraper right where we're standing.
Both of us out of work. How much time do we have?
Plans are all drawn up. It sounds like they're really moving on this.
Maybe we should pick up the want ads.
Maybe we should pick up some aspirin.
Bye. Guess what?
I think it'll be all right. Yeah, tomorrow morning's fine.
Well, that ought to hold it till the cavalry gets here.
Thank you very much, Mr.
Lawrence. Chad Lawrence.
Jerry Howland.
That again.
You know, for a plumber, you got great legs.
Look, instead of me sending you a bill, why don't we negotiate over breakfast? How does that sound?
Sounds like a reasonable settlement.
All right, I'll call you in the morning.
No. No. Mommy!
I'll see what's the matter.
She was all right when we came in. It must be a nightmare.
What's the matter, honey?
Oh, Mommy.
You having a bad dream, baby?
No, it wasn't.
Oh, nightmares can be so awfully scary, but your mommy's here and she's gonna make the monsters go away.
No, he won't.
Come on, honey, tell mommy.
I can't. He told me not to.
What? Who did?
He said he wouldn't love me anymore.
Who are you talking about? Who said these things to you?
He touched me. He said if I told...
Carol, what's going on here?
Who touched you, Amy?
You don't mean that she...
Amy, who did this to you?
No one. I don't know.
Honey? Tell me now. Was it the babysitter?
Yes, he did it. He did it.
God.
It's
gonna be all right, honey.
Mr. Jameson?
What the hell are you?
Peter McDermott, hotel manager. I came as quick as I could.
Yes, and you're a little late.
Do you know what that babysitter of yours did to my little girl?
Well, that's what I hope to find out.
Hope?
What is to find out?
Ask him.
How is she, Doc? Well, she's resting now.
He didn't hurt her, did he?
Not physically, no. She's a very frightened girl. I gave her a mild sedative.
You do know whose fault this is, don't you?
Trust me, Mr. Jameson. We'll get to the bottom of it.
Trust you? That's the first mistake we made when you sent that pervert up here.
I'm available if you need me. I'll be back in the morning. I have to report this within 48 hours, you know.
Wait a minute. What's the conspiracy here? You find the kid, you pick up the kid.
I sent a security man over to his apartment. Hank Miller's not home.
Oh, for God's sake, of course he's not home. He's taken off somewhere.
We don't really know anything for sure.
We know it.
Amy knows it.
Believe me, Mr. Jameson, Mrs. Jameson, nothing's going to be swept under the rug. There's got to be some kind of an explanation.
Explanation? He molested our baby. You want to try to explain that?
Yeah, this is hyper drama here. This is serious melodrama. It's funny, you talked a little bit about the Dallas connection, but we didn't talk about Lee McCloskey, who plays the babysitter in this. He was also on Dallas.
Play Mitch.
And he's a really interesting artist, actually. He looks like the squarest frat jock in the world, but he's a really interesting artist. Some friends of mine have been to his house, and they said it's just, I mean, it's like abstract art on all the walls. The whole house is incredibly beautiful.
You can look it up online. It's really
Yeah.
stunning. And also, he did a TV movie called The Bermuda Depths.
Yeah.
With Connie Selica.
From the show.
And so I don't think they have any scenes together, but it's a really neat kind of tie-in. That's a beautiful film too.
And I'm sure everybody out there in our viewing audience has seen him in Dario Argento's Inferno.
Yeah.
Also.
Oh, and Just One of the Guys, and Fraternity Vacation, and One Life to Live. He's been
Oh
in
no,
everything.
you're a super fan of Lee
I
McCloskey.
love
I
him.
sense. Yes.
Alexander, The Other Side of Dawn.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can keep going. Yeah.
And we see how this episode works, because you've got your two stories, your two main stories, and then you've got the marginal stuff, which is there's almost always one with some sort of drama going on among the hotel employees, just to kind of give them little bits of business to do to break the melodrama. It's almost always a comedic thing. It's frequently misunderstandings, actually, which it is in this episode too. And that all kind of comes together to sort of synthesize throughout the episode, and that's the formula for the episode, really.
It works. I like
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
So I'm actually semi new to hotel. I think because it was a drama in high school, or I guess it was junior high school when it premiered. I was like, I don't know. It's okay. It's not Love Boat, but I really come to appreciate the melodrama and the glamour and the approach of it. And James Brolin's great in it, and I like all the actors. And it's a really well done show. I really think that I don't want to say it's aged well, because I hate that phrase, but I think that it still holds up in terms of the way it produces the drama, and the fact that we're watching the story about child molestation. I can only think of right now Something About Amelia, that Different Strokes episode with the bicycle repairman.
Mhm.
And it was not necessarily a really talked about thing. And they're really approaching it, and it's going to get dark when everything gets revealed, you know?
Yeah. It's they decided that they wanted to like have a controversial, and this probably kind of came out of this desire to use controversial subjects in the show. Probably came out of Spelling's experience making made-for-TV movies, because that was a huge part of what got TV movies greenlit, was like some controversial subject matter.
Well, so yeah, I think we were talking about this too before we started this tonight's episode, was talking about how he would put in these quietly sort of progressive and or social commentary type things into his stuff, and you almost didn't even realize that's what he was doing, because it was such a masterful, here's some entertainment, but also here's some stuff that you might want to think about, or let me just put the seeds there. And he was really good at that.
And there's a lot of like really sort of what I would think are pretty progressive ideas about gay couples on the show. A lot of, I think, pretty progressive ideas about women and women sort of choosing their own destinies in this show.
Mm-hmm.
And then also you'll see progressive ideas about aging as well in the show. And I think nobody really would say that Aaron Spelling is like Norman Lear in terms of like really wearing his ideology on his sleeve, but it sort of subtly kind of comes through in his work,
I think in a way that's I don't want to diminish anybody's work, but it's genius, and I don't think he gets appreciated for what he did in that respect.
Mhm.
And sure, it's not Norman Lear, but sometimes you have to move people slowly to a point. You can't just push them over there, and then they're there and they don't even realize that they're there, and everything, they've normalized gay couples and things. And so it's wonderful the way he did it. And there's an art form to that,
Mhm.
and he may have struggled getting some of these storylines across the networks, but he did a really good job in putting them out there, but also not feeling like he was cramming them down your throat, because nobody wants that. Right. And so I think it was just a masterful way to do television.
And a big thing that sometimes that great producers do, great executive producers do, is provide cover for doing that kind of stuff. And with all the success that Aaron Spelling had, it would have been very hard for the network to say no to him on anything, because they wanted to say yes to Aaron Spelling as much as they could.
Absolutely.
So yeah, anyway, so we'll get on with the show with their second part of this hotel episode. It's gonna get wild, you guys.
Hi. Is everything okay?
Not really.
Need a shoulder to cry on?
I booked out the ballroom for 2 weeks for redecorating. Now the hotel doesn't want to spend the money till the new fiscal year.
Well, it's cheaper to make new than fix up the old, huh?
That's true.
So, what do you figure on doing when you're not at the St. Gregory anymore?
Well, I never really thought about it. Guess I can't imagine myself anyplace else.
Me neither. Not much call for security in the parking lot. Mostly depend on guard dogs for that sort of thing. Of course, they do need somebody to tell the dogs what to do.
Lady sportswear, a world of glamour and excitement. Anyway, that's what I'm doing in San Francisco. Don't tell me you're in menswear.
Oh, no, just what's on my back.
You wear it pretty well.
Thank you. Well, I've been working with a landscape architect the last couple of months.
Which explains the healthy outdoor look.
Mm-hmm. Not to mention the dirt underneath the fingernails. You got a lot to do today?
I gave myself the day off. You?
Just an appointment later on. Thank you.
I really owe you this.
No, wait a minute. What's French toast without somebody sweet to go with it? I didn't say that, did I? I did say that. I like you. I like you a lot, Jerry.
McDermott, what are you doing around here?
Tried to get a hold of you all night.
Oh, well, I was at a party at the frat house. Decided to stay over.
You want to tell me what happened?
At the party?
Don't get smart with me, Hank.
I'm sorry, Mr. McDermott, but I don't know what you're talking about.
Last night, the little Jameson girl.
Something happened to her?
Don't you know? She was molested.
What? But how? I mean...
She says you're the one who did it.
Don't you want to eat your waffle, honey? It looks so good.
I'm not hungry. May I be excused now?
Yes. I want you to call the police, Phil. The hotel is not going to do anything, and you know it.
Carol McDermott said.
McDermott wasn't there. He doesn't know what that man did to my baby. Look at how she's acting. I feel so helpless.
I called Lou this morning. He had some good advice.
Lou is a lawyer, not a psychiatrist.
Okay, but if we press charges, he feels it's only going to be more destructive to Amy.
Don't you think that the damage has already been done?
But a court proceeding can drag on for months. She'll have to give all sorts of depositions. There'll be endless questions. Relive the grisly details of it. I mean, why put her through that? She's suffered enough.
You want me to sit back and pretend it didn't happen, Phil? I can't do that.
Yes. I'll be right down. They found the babysitter.
So, I'm with the lady executive, huh?
Well, I started the business about 3 years ago.
Great.
Oh, hi.
Hi, sorry to inconvenience you. The plumber will be down in about an hour.
Oh,
Say, can I offer you a little high ground till the waters recede?
Sure.
Come on.
You're sure that's what she said?
Of course I am. Now, why would a chambermaid lie? Well, this is such a wonderful old hotel. You know, people have just no sense of tradition.
Tearing down the St. Gregory. Isn't that incredible?
What do you think they'll do with these marvelous fixtures?
Probably auction them off.
Oh, could we bid on those wonderful sconces in the Carlisle room? They'd be just perfect in the den.
Amy's lying, Mr. McDermott. She's got to be.
I want to believe you, Hank, but I just can't buy it. The little girl would just make all this up.
But it's not true. I just about raised my kid's sisters. I'm not a freak.
That's your word, not mine.
Yeah, but only a freak does something like this.
Hank, you may have a problem.
No, the only problem I got is getting you to believe me. Mr. McDermott, this could ruin my life. You know what you did to that child. Look, I swear, I never touched her.
Mr. Jameson, let it go. This isn't getting us anywhere.
You better get a good lawyer, Buster, because I'm not through with you. Not with either one of you. Not by a long shot.
Okay. There you go. Thank you very much.
I don't want you to think.
I'm not thinking anything. Just how nice it is.
I'm sorry.
But I'm sorry, too. I shouldn't have... Please. Can I see you later?
I don't know.
Your Excellency.
Father?
I guess we have a lot to talk about.
Yes, we do.
All right. That's a big
Enough.
reveal with this priest garb there, Dak Rambo.
That's so unfair. He cannot be a priest.
Yeah. No, I don't think he really was. I think it was just in the show.
It would have been really unfair.
Are you a big Dak Rambo fan?
Oh my God, I love
Yeah.
Dak Rambo. How
Yeah,
could
yeah.
you not? He's Dak Rambo.
Yeah.
He's great. And I'm trying to think where I fell in love with him, but his I guess Dallas, but he did everything. He was on this. He was on this really great Fantasy Island with Tanya Roberts where he plays a ghost.
Yeah.
And he's from like the 17th century, and she takes him to the pool, and he's never seen bikinis before, and it's just hilarious. And he did a Shades of Love, which was this romance show from Canada that I love. He can do no wrong.
Yeah, there were so many just really good actors that could carry a show like this at this time. And we've got several of them in this episode, who were just can carry their scenes, can bring that suspension of disbelief even in such short bursts. And it's really interesting to watch, having seen this episode all the way through once, to know what's happening with Robert Reed's character right now.
Yeah, I think this is such a great showcase for his talent, because he's I think sort of cluing in the audience. Of course, that's all hindsight, right? But also there's different readings you can give to each sort of expression. And also I love that he chose to do something so dark, and we were talking about like what kind of things you saw on TV that were on this topic, and Ted Danson starred in Something About Amelia. And so it's so interesting to see these actors known for these much lighter roles take on these kind of dark personas. And both he and Ted Danson did a fantastic job.
And most actors really would try to avoid playing morally ambiguous characters or bad guy characters. But I think with some actors, they're just drawn to it, and they want to work and do interesting stuff, and they don't want to just play the same character over and over again. And I always like those kinds of actors. I always like actors who make interesting choices. It's a big thing that episodic television can give us, that we would be impoverished. We'd be impoverished if we didn't have episodic television sometimes, even though some shows are sort of dumb or whatever, is we get all these wonderful actors having a chance to play different kinds of parts.
Yeah, it's really refreshing. Like, so last when we were watching Love Boat, we were seeing Audra Lindley and Marion Ross looking totally different from Mrs. Roper and Mrs. C. And Marion Ross, I just watched her on an episode of Hotel when we were prepping for this, and where she's trying to get the legal custody away from a gay couple who are taking care of this niece of hers. And it must be so great for these actors who are normally in these kind of roles that we just associate them so much with, that to be able to break out from it. It's refreshing. And so I kind of miss that we're built around guest stars.
And which was most shows actually at the time, not just Aaron Spelling shows. I remember I was watching recently an episode of the old Western Cimarron Strip with Stuart Whitman, and it was that rare, like, it was 90-minute long episodes. And watching it, it's like, oh, the special guest star this week is Tuesday Weld. So here's an entire 90-minute movie starring Tuesday Weld. You might be a huge Tuesday Weld fan of her movies, but have you ever seen the Cimarron Strip episode that she does, where she does this incredible performance and plays basically the second lead in this thing? And television is just full of those opportunities to see really fantastic actors at the top of their game having a chance to, like, basically do a low-budget movie.
Interestingly enough, that you talk about that, and the first thing I thought of was Rick Dalton in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, doing that. I can't remember what the show was now, Lancer. And he's this great actor who they say has been quote unquote relegated to TV, but then this is this terrific performance. And not only that, but Sam Wanamaker, who is played by the guy, I can't remember, Nicholas Hammond from The Amazing Adventures of Spider-Man, comes in and he treats him like an actor. And he's like, this is what I want from you. And it was this kind of glorious moment for Rick Dalton, although I don't know that he recognized it, because everybody was like, oh, it's just this bit part. But he shines, and that's kind of, I think maybe that's the point that Quentin Tarantino and I think about it was trying to make.
I think that's absolutely true. And that those shows were not all wonderful, but they all had wonderful moments,
Absolutely.
There's great Rawhide with Lon Chaney Jr. giving like the performance of his career.
I love it.
Yeah, it's a great moment. But let's go on to more great moments in this wonderful episode of Hotel.
Who's that pretty little girl in the mirror? How about a smile? You know how much your daddy and I love you, don't you?
Daddy's in heaven.
But you have a new daddy now, honey. And he loves you so very much.
Are we gonna go home soon?
You want to?
I don't know.
What would you like to do when Daddy gets back? Should we go to Fisherman's Wharf?
Where'd he go anyway? He looked awful mad. Is the babysitter gonna get punished?
That's what Daddy's taking care of right now, honey.
Six months is a long time to be away from your parish, Chad.
Well, I needed this sabbatical, Your Excellency.
I'm sure you did. But you can't imagine the number of inquiries we've had. Your parishioners want to know when you're coming back.
I just don't know yet.
The Archdiocese thinks very highly of all you've accomplished.
Think I'm being selfish? I guess maybe I am. I just need something for myself, something the church can't give me.
What is it? What is it you're looking for, Father?
A wife? Family? I'm a man, but I've experienced so little. I don't even know what the outside world is like anymore.
Is it someone you've met? A woman?
No. No. I've never even been with a woman.
We all go through doubts.
I'm only human. I found that I have needs. I have desires. I just can't keep denying them.
Are you questioning your faith?
No. No, my belief in God is as strong as it's ever been. It's my commitment to the church. I want to honor it. I want to, but I just don't know if I can.
It's terrific, McDevitt. You just let him walk away. I'm not the police. I can't hold Hank Miller against his will. So what did he say? Well, he hasn't changed his story. He said he put her to bed, and that was it. Put her to bed? Or got into bed? Look, it was a terrible thing that happened to your daughter. But it was a felony. I have to call the authorities. I can't put her through that. I don't want a bunch of strangers to cross-examine her. Well, what do you want, Mr. Jameson? You can't have it both ways. I get the feeling you're protecting that kid. If Hank Miller did it, the hotel will take responsibility. All I want is what's best for my little girl. Will you allow me to talk to her? What for? She's already told us what happened. I just want to hear it from her, in her own words. I'll be very gentle with her. Let me talk to my wife about it.
No one's trying to pressure you, Father, but the church needs men like you.
Even if I live a lie?
We all have our doubts. I did when I was your age. It's something we learn to live with.
Yes, but how can I tell other people how to run their lives? I mean, I can't even run my own.
Don't be so hard on yourself. No one asked you to be a saint, but you are a priest, and a very good one.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
God understands your torment. If you ask, he'll help.
You think I don't know what's going on? I'm with security.
Then it's true, isn't it? They're gonna tear down the hotel.
Yeah, but not because of termites. You want to know the real story? The owners are in a bind. They're mortgaged to the penthouse. They're out, the bank's in.
Why aren't they gonna keep it open?
The land is too valuable, sweetheart. They're going to auction it off to the highest bidder.
There go our jobs.
Not to mention the neighborhood.
Is he going to be punished?
Well, Hank can't be punished till we know everything that's happened.
Are you a detective? There's lots of detectives on TV, but I like monsters. They're my favorite.
Sometimes it's fun to be scared. But when it's for real, it's not so fun anymore, is it?
No.
That's why it's important to tell me just what happened last night. Okay?
Okay. It was late. I should have been asleep. Only I wasn't. I was watching TV. That's when he came in. He said the monster was making too much noise. So we turned it off. Then he, you know.
It's all right, Amy. Just take your time.
He made me those things I told my mommy. I didn't want to, but I was afraid.
I know you were. But it's over now.
And he won't do it again?
No, he won't. But wasn't he afraid you'd tell on him?
He made me promise not to. So
you what?
I don't want to talk about it anymore.
That's all right. did real good.
On TV, bad people always get punished.
In real life, too.
Amy? Amy? Amy?
I'm here, Mommy.
What were you doing in there, honey? You had me so frightened.
I didn't know who was there.
It's all right, sweetheart. No one is going to hurt you.
Was it wrong what he did?
Yes, it was, honey. But I am never going to leave you alone with a stranger again. I promise.
Do you love me, Mommy?
Of course I love you. I love you so much.
And you'll be right here?
Yes, baby. I'll be right here with you. I promise.
Thanks for a lovely evening.
Well, I'm glad you're not still angry.
I wasn't really angry. I just thought we were rushing into something.
I hear that fools do.
You know, I'm leaving tomorrow.
Oh? Well, maybe we could share one more pancake.
I'd like that. Well, good night.
Good night.
I love it.
That's an aspect of the 10 o'clock shows, is when you go into the fade out, you got the music that rises and the fade out happens, but not before you watch, I don't know, what was that, 90 seconds of them passionately making
Heavy
out?
making out.
Yeah.
I love it.
Dak Rambo, like, doing the work that he has to do to make a paycheck, I guess.
It might have been semi-hard for him because the actor was bisexual but predominantly gay, I think.
Right.
So it might have actually been hard work.
Yeah, probably.
Less hard for Michelle Phillips, maybe.
So anyway, that's that's a 10 o'clock show. We're seeing a lot of things in this 10 o'clock show that we would not have seen in an 8 o'clock show or a 9 o'clock show. So I think it's a really important distinction to make, that when you're looking at a 10 o'clock show, it means that they could get by with a lot. And I think AFS was inclined to push it. I think he was inclined to kind of do a little bit more than others would do in that space.
Yeah. And do we want to talk a little bit about Betty Davis and what happened with Ann Baxter?
Yeah, please. Yeah.
So, Betty Davis was supposed to be in like 7 or 8 episodes, and she really liked the pilot, I think. And she did a lot of interviews to promote it. And I think she fell ill, and she looks so frail at this point in her life. But she had to drop out, and then they hired Ann Baxter, and then Ann Baxter died like 2 or 3 seasons into the show. And then and Betty Davis actually outlived her, and she actually outlived the series. And the whole reason why they didn't bring her back was because they thought she was going to die. If the show was a hit, there's something was going to happen with her, and they weren't sure what to do. And she ended up actually outliving the series by a year. And it's kind of this ironic thing that happened. But Ann Baxter's really good in this, and we don't get a lot of her in this particular episode. But Betty Davis, I would say, is the height of glamour. But Ann Baxter's right under her for like this. She's just so distinguished, and she reminds me a little bit of a really glamorous version of Mrs. Pynchon on Lou Grant, which would have been running at the same time. Totally different kind of show, but one of those people that's never at a loss for words, always kind of on the right side of things, asks the right questions in these like kind of provocative situations, and does it with a very fine, handsome suit on at the same time.
Yeah, there's a sort of almost a nobility kind of noble quality that she has in terms of being, if this decision or this controversy or whatever has made it all the way up to her penthouse office, then it must be reckoned with by her in almost this sort of godlike way.
Yeah, which I appreciate.
Yeah, and James Brolin, I think his character sort of plays this sort of secondary, this sort of demigod, who goes between, the heavens and the earth. In this, in this episode is actually kind of like a really tough conflict, with dealing with the child molestation allegations against Lee McCloskey, because he has to be fair to both parties here, and has to be, and he's also, the controversy that it could mean for the hotel is weighing on him as well. He has to do the right thing. This is the kind of dilemma that we sometimes find his character in this show.
He actually did some interviews about this. So when he was doing Marcus Welby, he said like the first 6 episodes were really good because there was a lot of conflict between him and Robert Young, I believe. But then he said after that, it just kind of became a nothing character for him. And I don't think he liked episodics as much, but he found that the character that he played here was the character Marcus Welby was supposed to be, this sort of like dealing with these issues and getting those like meaty moments where they get to present these things to the audience and work them out. And that was one of the things that attracted him to Hotel.
Yeah, it's almost like he could point at the screen and say, "What would you do?" It's
Why didn't he do that?
Because if you're put into he really is sort of like the perspective character. I mean, there are multiple perspective characters. I think Connie Selica is sometimes the perspective character in the show, but we really are. He's the one sort of processing the conflict often in the show, but sometimes she does too. One of those two is going to be processing the conflict, basically.
And then they're going to fall in love
later on in the show. That's
that
not
was
this episode, but later on in the run of the show.
Huge. I remember that being everywhere. Will they or won't they?
Yeah.
And it started the 3rd season. It starts to build, and they were quite a duo on this series.
There's a really funny episode where there's another episode of this where Connie Selick is getting sexually harassed by a guest, and she goes to him to tell him, and he's like, this is just kind of part of the job, which doesn't make it sound like a very progressive show, actually. And he was like, so the guy's coming on to you, it's just kind of part of the job. You don't think that women come on to me every day? Not mentioning the men, which is like really, it's like a funny little moment.
Well, who wouldn't hit on James Brolin? That's my question.
Right.
I'm going to ask that.
So, but yeah, he's really the sort of perspective character in this, and I think he does a really good job. It's not even a matter of like, is this wonderful acting? It's like, this is wonderful sort of lead acting. There's a particular kind of lead acting that you do in a show like this, where it's very broad, but it's very effective, I think.
Agree.
Yeah. All right, we're getting back on with the exciting conclusion, I think, of Hotel.
I just don't get it. We use Hank a lot. Plenty of compliments. Hi, Dave. Never a complaint.
I don't think Amy's making it up.
Why? Children have very active imaginations.
Yeah, but being molested isn't something a kid just dreams up on her own. You know, hundreds of people pass through my life every day. You get a sixth sense about who they are. This one's a nice lady. That guy's a deadbeat. Someone's got a problem. Someone else is lying.
Are you beginning to think maybe you were wrong about Hank?
Maybe.
Peter, people who do this kind of thing are very sick, but they also are very clever.
Yeah, but something's been bugging me. Something Amy said.
You know, something's been bugging me too. Everybody's going around saying the
Megan,
hotel.
you got a copy of yesterday's paper? No, day before yesterday.
Oh, there's junk down here. Oh, here you go.
Thank you.
About the rumors.
You won't believe what I just heard. All the time they told me they didn't want to sell. They were just holding out for a better offer.
You think they plan to tear it down?
Sure. It's sitting on top of an earthquake fault.
Excuse me. Morning. Come here. Jerry, what's the matter?
I wouldn't want you to be caught in a compromising position, Father.
Bill, we're back.
I'm in here.
I thought we weren't leaving until Sunday.
Carol, I just don't think there's any point in staying. We can still have lots of fun at home. Can't we, Amy? You remember that little pup you wanted?
I thought if I took her shopping that it would take her mind off of it for a minute. Oh, Phil, I just don't know how to help her.
Excuse me. Has Miss Howland checked out yet? Room 607.
No, sir. Mrs. Howland won't be leaving till this afternoon.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
I'm sorry. I'm not looking for company.
I was neither. Mrs. Howland. We're just lucky enough to find it.
Oh, don't forget to check the bathroom, Phil. I don't want to leave anything behind.
Amy?
What are you doing
Please, don't
here?
run away.
Get away!
Tell them the truth. You know I didn't hurt you.
Make him go away. Make him go away, Mommy.
Get out!
What are you doing here? I want Amy to tell the truth.
Got off easy, Miller. You don't push your luck.
Get your hands off of me. I didn't do anything.
Get security.
I was on my way.
I didn't touch her. I never touched her.
Get out of here.
How can you let that man keep bothering us after what he did?
He didn't do it. Did he, Amy?
You must be desperate, McDermott. Don't you push me. I'll sue the St. Gregory for every nickel they have.
I think you're the one who's desperate, Mr. Jameson.
What is he talking about, Phil?
We have a plane to catch. I'm not going to stand around listening to this. Come on.
You want me to tell her, or will you?
I didn't say anything bad. Honest.
Amy said she was watching a monster movie when Hank came into the room. According to the paper, the only horror movie started at 12:30.
But the babysitter had left by 11. I don't understand this.
I didn't tell on you, Phil. Mommy, don't be mad at me. Please, Mommy.
Oh my God.
Amy was so afraid of losing your love, she had to go along with the lie.
You bastard! How could you do this to her? How could you do this to us? I could kill you for this. You filthy pig.
I didn't want to hurt her, Carol.
I'm so sorry. Please forgive us.
Mommy.
I guess I was looking for something.
So why you're not wearing a ring?
After we met, I didn't put it back on. I've wanted to walk away from the marriage, but I can't. Something always holds me back.
I guess they call that responsibility. You know, you're not the only one that wants to shrug it off.
Is that the way you feel about the church?
Father Lawrence, holy man. Mr. Lawrence, just a man.
A very special man.
You just say goodbye to her. Carol, please let me speak to you.
Honey, you go over there and wait with the luggage. I'll be right there.
Amy? Don't walk out on me like this, Carol. I'll get help. I'll do anything that you ask. If Amy doesn't testify, there won't be a case.
She'll testify.
You wouldn't put her through that. You wouldn't do it.
She'll do whatever she has to. This isn't going to happen to some other little girl.
Well, you have my number if you ever get to New York.
You know, you showed me something about myself, Jerry. It's a part of me that I don't think I can deny anymore. I won't forget that.
Be happy.
I get the feeling you've made some kind of decision.
Yeah, I would say definite maybe.
Am I gonna have to get used to you without your collar?
I don't know. You think you can teach me how to knot a tie?
What are friends for?
I will tell you this.
Okay, hold it. Everyone quiet down for a minute. All these rumors you've been hearing, none of them are true. No one has any intentions of selling this hotel. No one wants to tear it down. We're not sitting on an earthquake fault, and there's not a termite in San Francisco who has the nerve to chew on the St. Gregory. It's business as usual, okay? So whoever started the rumor.
What about the radioactive?
What?
Nothing, sir.
Miss McDermott, someone told me there's uranium.
All right, 1983.
It's a good
Hotel.
year.
Yeah.
It's a great year.
So I wanted to, I don't know if there's anything you want to say to wrap up the episode. I wanted to thank our host here at Austin Public.
I think that's good. I just, thank you for letting me show the Robert Reed episode. And I hope people, I'm sorry, I just have to do my spiel because I love Robert Reed so much. I hope people seek out his other dramatic work, particularly his made for TV movies like Pray for the Wildcats and Secret Nightcaller. Because he's such a wonderful actor. And every time I watch this or anything else he's in, I just love him so much.
Pray for the Wildcats is just that's a whole other level.
So
You watch
good.
Pray for the Wildcats, you're going to be walking through, it's almost like you're going to walk through a portal into a different dimension, and you're never going to be the same after you watch that.
And you're better for it, though.
It's a truly amazing made-for-TV movie, and Robert Reed's great, Marjorie Gordner's great, Andy Griffith is great,
William Shatner.
William Shatner's great,
Angie
Angie Dickinson. It's like, oh my God, this
Lorraine
movie.
Gary.
Lorraine Gary, yeah, it's amazing.
Oh my God, I'm drawing a blank on the young woman that plays Marjorie Gordner's girlfriend, which is funny because she's in that Planet Earth pilot we were just talking
Laura
about.
Parker?
Janet Margolin.
Janet Margolin,
Yeah.
wonderful Janet Margolin.
Great.
Yeah. So that's amazing. Robert Reed, one of the great television actors of all time.
Yes.
I want to thank. It's funny because we were just here talking, and it's like there's this hubbub going on in one of the other studios, and they're recording a podcast, and we're just talking about how incredible Austin Public is. This is the building that we're in right now, the television studio that we're in. It's a television studio. It's the public access television studio. AFS, my employer, administers this through the good works mainly of station manager Doug Gray, who's here producing this show in the middle of the freaking night. He's been here all day, I'm sure. But people who can just walk in off the street and learn how to do television production, learn how to make movies, learn how to use the newest and greatest cameras and lenses and recording equipment. There's really, if you have ideas, if you're able to put a team together and you want to do something, you can come here and make a TV show, make a movie, whatever you want to do. Yes, and we're looking here. You're seeing on television where you can go on austinfilm.org to see the Austin Public site and learn about all your opportunities that you can have to become a producer. And then some kids over here like making a podcast. There's a podcast studio, so they can use the best stuff in order to make podcasts. So it's not just video, it's audio, it's all different kinds of production. And there's classes and there's no strings attached to this stuff. It's not like there's some ulterior motive. This is really set up. It's funded by the city. It's funded by a number of other grants and whatnot, so that people can do just exactly what we're doing and do it even better than we're doing. And I hope, more production value possibly than we're putting into this. So
Well, this is very Dick Cavett-like. I really appreciate it.
Yeah. I mean, even this is like, where would we have figured out a way to do this without Austin Public? So you can do it too. And this is a call to action that you should use Austin Public's resources, because it's truly amazing.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yay.
Thank you, Doug Gray.
Yes,
thank you,
thank
Charles.
you.
Thank you, everyone who's helped to make this thing possible. And we'll come back for one more of these in 5 weeks from now. And that one is going to be about Melrose Place and Beverly Hills 90210. So we have a lot of studying to do to try to figure out which is the best episode of each of those.
Are you asking me to look at photos of Luke Perry?
Yes.
Because, okay.
Yes, you look at photos of Luke Perry, please, in preparation for this
I will.
next one. Yeah, so we're gonna talk a little bit about how Aaron Spelling made one last huge change in the TV landscape when he kind of created the WBization of television with these two shows. So even though he didn't do it for the WB, he created that world.
Like, that was Fox.
Yeah. But the whole WB world kind of emerged because of Aaron Spelling. So anyway, that's what we're going to do. I want to thank you so much, Amanda Reyes.
Thank you.
Do you have any new projects that you want to tease out to our audience?
I don't think anything's been announced, but if people want to follow me at Made for TV Mayhem on Twitter or at Made for TV Mayhem on Facebook or Instagram, please do that. And then anything I have going on, I will post there.
Great. And don't follow me anywhere. Just come watch
Follow him
movies at
everywhere.
AFS. All right. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Good night and good luck.